in 11 days, I'll have 17 years of uninterrupted sobriety. Now that's where it started for me, because I was a crack addict. And the disease of addiction and the ex-offender population kind of go hand in hand.
March 4th, 2008 is when I actually went to prison, and I did 28 months, and I got out June 1st actually of 2010, so just a little bit over a year ago. My charge was actually embezzlement. It was under theft, but it was embezzlement.
I made a mistake, which was kind of like family orientated, where the biggest look out for the little one, you know, and I got in trouble taking up for one of my younger siblings.
That was Marvin Swain, who is the owner of My Mama's Sweet Potato Pie, and you'll hear more from Marvin and about Marvin as the video goes on, as well as two other entrepreneurs who have been successful in creating and maintaining their own businesses after their release from prison. My name is Michael Tavares, and I'm the producer of this video, but more importantly, I'm the owner of Tavtel Media, which is my company that I started 25 years ago, so I can speak a little bit on this subject. And I'd like for you to know why the state of Ohio decided to do this video in the first place. In part 2 of this series, which includes Business 101 and some other resource information that was a result of a number of workshops that the state of Ohio put on for restored citizens, specifically who wanted to start their own businesses. And in that video, you will see and learn everything that you will need to learn to know how to start your own business, and as it relates to licensing and getting your name registered and all those details. However, in this video, we really just wanted you to understand and to know that it has been done, it can be done, and you too can do it. But you have to bring the right stuff to the table. And when I say the right stuff, I'm speaking in terms of hard work ethic, not just work ethic, but business ethic. You have to understand some fundamentals of business, such as accounting, such as marketing. You have to understand what it takes to do the business on a day-to-day basis, and understand that, you know, there are some realities to this. Your bills may come in straight as a super highway, but your income may vary from day to day, more like a roller coaster. You got your peaks and your valleys. So you have to know how to straighten that out. And so there are a lot of things that you're going to have to learn, but you really, really have to have a passion for this. You have to look at some feasibility ideas. You know, is it feasible to do this type of business? Is there a market for it? Is there, is this the type of business that the community needs at this particular time based on our economy and things like that? So you really, really have to do some research, and you really, really have to learn what it is that you're going to need to learn in order to get started. Because once you get started, you're there. So keep in mind that, you know, opportunity along with preparation equals success. But along the way, you've got your vision, you've got your passion that you have to be, that you have to stick to it, and never give up, on your dream. But keep these realities in mind. Understand marketing your product, marketing your service, marketing yourself, and all the things that go along with that. So continue to watch the video. We wish you the best of luck. Once you finish this, go on to the workshop series, starting with Business 101, and take notes and make sure that you have all the information that there is needed for your type of business or service, and pursue it as at the pace that you need to pursue it. Good luck.
My accountability is huge, especially when I go out here and I speak to schools and institutions and things like that. I have to remain consistent. I have to. Because if I don't, see, it don't work. Look, he back in. He back on dope. So it ain't gonna work. You know, and what can you say about that? What can you say? So I hear more gentlemen, I hear more men who are willing to go out and put themselves out there. But I always tell them, you know, when you do that, man, you're accountable. You know, you can't talk this unless you got to walk it. And ain't walking it from 8 to 5. You got to walk it every single second of your life, because people watch you, and you see people everywhere. You know, when you put yourself out there, people are going to see you. You know, when you have advertising your face on, people are going to recognize you, so they'll watch you. They watch what you do, and they wait for you to fall.
Your personality is who people think you are, but your character is who people know you are. Now, it's a rare individual whose character and persona match. You see, because most of us, we put on a show and we act like what we want to be like, but we never accomplish the show. But we've got to become the show from the inside out, not from the outside in. The second most valuable wealth that you can have is social wealth. And this is where that if you want to be successful in business, you need to surround yourself with the people that is about your business. I tell the young folk in my church all the time that if you want to be a basketball player, you can't spend all your time hanging out with football players. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have football players that are friends, but if you're going to measure the amount of time you spend with the football friends and you want to be a basketball player, I'm going to tell you that if 90% of your time is with football players, then what are you going to learn how to play? You might even learn how to play basketball with football players, but you'll never rise to the levels of professionalism that you seek, because football players are not trying to be professional basketball players, but they know how the game is played. And unfortunately, for a lot of us trying to start a new business, we hang out with people who know about what we want to be about, but they're not doing about what we want to be about. You've got to be around the folk that are already doing what you want to do. That means that for some of us, we got to change the game of who we're socializing with. And that means there's some serious decisions you're going to have to make about relationships, because your social wealth, the people that you know and the people that know you, is everything. There's some doors that are going to be open for you only because of who you know. And there's some doors that are going to be shut because of who you know. And so you've got to make up your mind that if you look at your current circle of socializations and you find that you are not hanging out with nobody that's doing what you want to do, it's time to change friends. It's time to change your association, or at least it's time to change the places and the venues that you frequent. Because I'm going to tell you, for a great number of us, our only obstacle right now is exposure, or the lack thereof. You need to get around the places and the spaces that will give you exposure to the people and the venues that will pour into the things that you want to do.
I believe that rehabilitation is possible for ex-offenders. It's a proven fact. There's so many ex-offenders who have gone on to become business entrepreneurs, judges, and well-respected within their community.
Entrepreneurship, particularly in this economy, and for people who have a focus and a drive, this is an absolutely a prime time, as I see it. You can pretty much draw your own landscape.
Employers have so many potential candidates coming before them that when they compare someone who does not have a prior conviction with someone that does, as much as you want to believe that they're looking at the qualities and their skills and making an assessment, unfortunately that's not happening for all employers. Some employers, yes, some employers are embracing our clients and the population. But when you think about entrepreneurship, you bypass that process, and it allows an individual to take an idea, take a concept that they may have been thinking about for a long time, for a short period of time. They may have already done the research, started planning what they need to do, and actually execute. But that doesn't mean everyone that's formerly incarcerated is an entrepreneur, because there's different skill sets that are needed when you are an entrepreneur.
a potential entrepreneur needs to think about the idea. What are the steps to getting that idea done? Who's going to be the players and partners in getting that idea fulfilled? But you have to have a passion for the idea that you're coming up with, and the skills that are necessary to perform that idea. If it's a cooking, are you a good chef? Have you taken proper training classes to be a chef? If you're going to be an auto mechanic, there are certain certifications that you need to be aware of when you become an auto mechanic.
I don't think it necessarily takes a rocket science to come up with a idea. You know, anyone can come up with an idea, and then you just gotta believe in your idea and put forth the work effort to implement it. And you know, that's the greatest force that you can put behind it. It's work, you know, and a lot of people aren't willing to work. They think it's just gonna fall out of the sky into your lap and say, here I am, and you're a self-made millionaire. But it don't work like that.
When I went into prison, I found out that Columbus State actually had a culinary program, just like the one they have on the outside, but in prison. I said, perfect. You know, I can go ahead and continue with my classes. That's actually where I was going, was Columbus State. And so it worked out for the best. Finished there just in the nick of time. Actually, the same week that I was released is actually I was finishing up classes. Came out and realized I really couldn't find a job. I knew eventually that I was going to want to start Fusion Bakery, but not as soon as anticipated. And many of my case workers, told me, it's like, oh, it's going to be hard. You know, the job market out there is crazy. Everyone is looking for a job, so just be prepared. After several months, I just realized, I can't get a job. When I was in treatment, I met a lot of men who had just came out of the institution or who were back again, and I realized it was a coalition between the two. And when I got sober, I was just so grateful that I was able to be alive. I just wanted to give back. And I was told that that's how you give back, is that you help someone else, unconditionally. Actually, I got incarcerated early on when I was a young man, about 23. And during that time, I did a lot of soul searching. What am I going to do when I get out of this situation? So I made a determination that I was going to first go back to school. And being a former Navy veteran, we had the GI Bill. So upon my release from prison, I took advantage of the GI Bill and went back to college and secured a degree, associate degree in public service work. Actually, the subject matter was human services. And so, along with that, I thought that would help me gain status when I re-entered the workforce. And it did, but I knew that I would still have a struggle. It was more like meeting people along the way, because I had a couple of strikes against me. My background is actually in hotels and hospitality and restaurants as well too. And I've done it for 20 years and always knew that I wanted to own my own restaurant of some sort, very tiny one. After about 20 years, I just decided, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something that I really want to do, and decided to go back to school for culinary. And so I'd quit my job, decided, okay, I'm going to take some part-time jobs, definitely take a pay cut. In that time period, I broke up with my long-term partner, so that definitely caused some financial stress. But this was something I had always decided that I wanted to do. Well, when I went to my mother, I had a state income check return, and it was $90. I endorsed the check, gave it to my mother, and I said, buy whatever it takes to make up some pies. And she bought up the ingredients and gave me back $40 change. So with that, she had the
3 different samples of pies, which we put a recipe down for each one. And we had a pie tasting with the family members, and we determined which one close tasted like the one that she made, because she never had a recipe. She just did everything by sight. So the one recipe out of the 3 closely tasted like the one that she made. Took that recipe, tore the other 2 up, and off we were to the races. Started making pies, and I had someone that had befriended me along the way on the bakery. He had a freezer that was empty right next to the cash register. He told me one day, "Hey, bring in the pies, consignment, set them in the freezer, they sell, I'll pay you later." I set the pies there, went back, and 1 week, it was 6 pies. 1 week, they were gone. He said, "Hey, bring me twice as many. Can you bring me a dozen?" Went back in another week, that case was gone. Then it escalated. Before it was over, I was carrying in 3 dozen about every 2 weeks or so, and we started getting fancier and fancier with the labeling, the packaging, with the signs, the advertising, and the promotion. And from that bakery, we went to little local carryouts in the neighborhood, and I just gave product on consignment.
You know, I'm doing just about everything. I was landscaping, I was walking dogs, I was babysitting, selling cookies whenever I could. I actually ended up talking to now a really good friend, Melissa Lindsay, who said, "Hey, you know, we're going to be doing this great function called Employees Awareness Workshop, and would you like to cater it?" I'm like, "Yeah, definitely. That's something that I completely want to do," and took it from there. And I've been catering since then. I still work at Hinkles and McCoy. That definitely helps pay the bills, but cooking is my passion, and they know that too. So I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to incorporate both of them. One of my other passions is helping at-risk people, just in general, or people who've just gotten out of prison. Because I realize how hard it is, and I realize that there's not always a huge support system out there. So now I'm able to help them with that, and you know, hopefully make some difference in someone's life, and you know, hopefully they don't have to go through the horrible hardships that I had to.
Resilience is, at this point, is a behavior modification program. So our focus, and the Department of Rehab and Corrections focus as well, is behavior modification. We practice it through a piece called cognitive behavior therapy. And that is a evidence-based model saying that when my behavior changes, when my thinking changes, my behavior changes. So it's a 24-week curriculum that we offer, and we talk about behavior modification. That's the gist of resilience. Well, of course, with behavior comes so many different other elements. You know, sometimes there's domestic violence involved, sometimes anger management pops up. You know, because if it's based on behavior, it's based on what has happened to me in the past or in the present. So we want to focus on the negative behavior. If it's causing me to go back to the institution, if it's causing me to use and abuse a substance, if it's causing me to beat my wife, to beat the kids, whatever the situation may be, it starts and it ends with behavior.
I think going to prison and then getting out and realizing that, you know, I'm not going to be able to get jobs as easily as I used to, that I've always been resilient, but this is going to take a little bit more. So having that motivation and realizing like, okay, this is it, because what else are you going to do? You can't do anything else, you know, so you're going to have to figure out something. And I remember actually just sitting down, there's a walk dog near here, and just sitting there and thinking like, okay, Wendy, so what can you do? You know, this is, you know, you want to start a business, so you do have this opportunity. You know, do you continue with that? And I just remember, you know, sitting there thinking, it's like, well, if they're not going to give me a job, then I'm going to have to create one legally, of course, you know, on my own. So there was that motivation at some point, because you realize, you know, there's no point of return. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. You know, I don't want to go back to crime. You know, my crime was embezzlement. So obviously I would need to have a job. So it's like this crazy vicious cycle, which I don't plan to ever do that. But it's it made me determined to actually do something and to do it on my own terms. So to be fearless, you know, as far as that, which is something that I really didn't have before because I had nothing to lose at this point. So I just decided to go ahead and, you know, start Fusion Bakery.
I had 4 different locations I had access that I kept the pie. So no matter what part of town I was in, someone seen me, hey, can I get a pie? Yeah, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Didn't have a store, but I had locations that I could put my hand on a pie in a short period of time. And with that, like I said, the business grew to where I was actually making enough money selling out of the trunk of my car that I was able to acquire a small building on the corner of Joyce and Hudson, and that was my first retail location. And we escalated from there. One day I got a call from the Kroger company, and they wanted me to deliver some pies to one store, and then the pies went over so well, the store manager suggested I go to another store, tell that store manager she sent me and to buy that pie. And then she sent me to another Kroger store and another Kroger store with the same MO. Tell that manager I said buy this pie. She endorsed the pie, and after that, the local corporate office got wind of it. Then he decided he wanted the pies in the whole Kroger division of Columbus. And with that being said, then it escalated to the now defunct Big Bear stores, defunct Cub stores, and also Myers.
What we try to do is we try to retain these guys as much as possible. We try to stay in touch. We try to make sure, even because we talked about earlier, after the fact, you know, when everybody's gone, the PO's gone, the treatment center's gone, and it's just left to me to make the right decisions. That's when we get in trouble. So we try to hold these guys accountable even then, after they're off parole, after off probation, PRC. We still want to say, hey, you know, 3, 4, 5 months later, what you guys doing? How's everything coming? Why don't you come in, let's talk and see how things are going. So in that perspective, they appreciate the support. They appreciate the fact that someone still cares even after the fact.
If you're in trouble for distributions and sales of drugs, it's like buying, selling, and making a profit. So if you got the ability and know-how to buy, sell, and make a profit, you can apply that same ability to buying, selling, and making a profit with sugar, cupcakes, donuts, clothing, cars, tires, anything that has to do with buying, selling, and making a profit. You can apply that same ability and be legit.
There is a difference between being successful in business and being significant in business. You see, too many of us, we spend too much time trying to be successful and not enough time focusing on being significant. Because if we focus on being significant, then that's going to determine the kind of business that you're going to actually go into. There's going to be some businesses you're going to turn down, some ideas you're not going to even entertain because it's not going to make you significant in the circles that mean the most to you. So you can't just go into a business just because it can make you some money. Because at the end of the day, when the money is made and you look behind you and all of the social relationships that mean the most to you have been littered because of your success, then what have you really done? So we need to really focus in on being significant in our lives as opposed to just being successful. Because if you're significant, I guarantee you, you'll also be successful.